All right, we're jumping UFC lightweight. Jim Miller, who's back in action here this Saturday, UFC 328. Jim, how's it going, man?
It's going well, going well. Can't wait to get back in the octagon. This has been the pretty by far the longest layup of my career, and I yeah, I'm ready to be back.
Yeah, we'll just start right there. Like, haven't fought since April of last year. Like, was there a reason for this long of a layoff? Like, is this something you want a bit of time off, or is this just kind of how kind of the UFC kind of offered you a fight?
A little bit of everything. There were a couple reasons that things that kept me out, and the UFC when I was ready to get back into a fight, which was like at the beginning of the year. I was told, they were coming back to Newark, so they'd sit me for a bit and have me on this card. So, I ended up suffering like the most nagging and like I guess like athletically debilitating injury that I've ever experienced. I sprained my pelvic symphysis, the little piece of cartilage in the front of your pelvis, February of last year, and I also tore one of the muscles off of my pelvis, and I could feel that. I didn't really know it was sprained, and I was like, okay, I was gearing up for that fight in April, and like okay, like we can work around this, we can work around it, and it was like a couple weeks prior that I finally figured out what it was. Spoke to a physical therapist friend of mine, and he's like, yeah, it's just gonna take time. So that was like 2 weeks out from the fight, so it ended up being really nagging, and I took a solid month off. Really didn't do anything, and it didn't get any better. And then took some more time off. Got some, had to get an X-ray first so I could get an MRI on my pelvis, and went down that whole rabbit hole. And then you found out the severity of everything, and it wasn't until about like mid-August that like I had my first sneeze, and it didn't feel like somebody was stabbing me. Like right above my junk. So
Mhm.
it was anything where I my legs went in different directions hurt it. So like um, I could isolate it, grappling, like kicking is probably how I hurt it, and so like I didn't do any of that. Like I couldn't even like jog, and like it just happens where it's like, yeah, you gotta run after something on the farm here, and I find myself like shuffling and feeling like an old man. So that sucked. And then right when I started to feel better, my older son, my 14-year-old, ended up having some health issues, and he kicked its ass, and yeah, so we had a really tough 6 months, the last 3 months of last year, and the first 3 months of this year, and um, I couldn't be happier for the way that things turned out. Um, and yeah, he's he's amazing. He's an amazing young man, and makes me proud every day.
Was there any ever point during that time that you thought like maybe this is it for you and you won't be able to fight again, or was that never a thought?
No, that was never a thought. It definitely like had I not hurt myself, and then had we not dealt with that with my son, I feel like I could have gotten 3 fights, last year, and I'd be working on like 49 right now,
Mhm.
so uh, it I could be way closer to that goal of 50. And it sucks to kick the can down the road a little bit, but I feel good. Um, yeah, and it was kind of one of those instances where like I'm appreciative of the lifestyle that I have earned for myself, and the ability to be there for him. And um, he ended up I didn't say, right. He had
Mhm.
cancer. So he was diagnosed with a rhabdomyosarcoma, which is an aggressive and very rare childhood cancer of the soft tissue. He had a tumor right tucked into his sinus and eye socket. And fortunately, location wise, um, it was in probably the best spot it could be. It kind of just popped right out when they did the biopsy, but he still had to go through his 2 rounds of chemotherapy and a round of radiation. So the radiation, it was 5 weeks every day down by Rutgers, so that's an hour and a half from us. So like, yeah, the ability to just to do that, right, and to move my schedule around. I was training at that point and trying to get ready for a fight when he first started, kind of kicking into the radiation part of it, and yeah, like I'm glad I'm a fighter. I'm glad I chose this road so that I could be there for my son and and help him through his trouble.
Oh, glad that he kind of got through that. It's obviously scary as a parent. Like you don't really ever expect that. So like when that kind of happened, like just sole focus kind of goes to your son, like
Mm.
fighting, rehab, all that kind of is just not in the picture anymore.
Sorry, what was that?
Like when he's going through that, like fighting, training, kind of all
Mhm.
that, like not even in the focus, like focuses on
Um,
him.
uh, Not necessarily. We my wife and I, we really tried to, um, like we met with the doctors, and I was like this close to going down every rabbit hole I could, and every exploiting every relationship that I have. Um, but like we spoke to the doctors, and we got this, the standard care, and we could get it close to us, and um, you know, he's one of four, so we were really trying to keep things as normal as we could, um, for the rest of them as well, and it definitely wasn't. But they all stepped up, and it was amazing. It makes you feel like you're doing something right. But for my own sanity, I needed to get in there and
Mhm.
train, and I've been in the gym for months now. Um, and not like full bore, fight camp esque type stuff, but like when you're going through stuff like that, it's healing to choke somebody sometimes, like doing the thing you love is is good. So yeah, being able to get in and train with the guys was I needed it. I needed it definitely.
And then now to get back and at home in Newark, like was that kind of the goal then? Like was this kind of the date that was circled then?
Yeah. The UFC kind of decided that one. You know, I wanted to fight again in Newark before I'm done. Um, so this was my opportunity to do that, and yeah, I jumped at the chance.
And Jared Gordon, like this is a veteran, kind of been around. Like, were you excited to get a name like that, or did it really not matter for you?
It it does and it doesn't, right? Like he's a guy that I like watching fight, and those are the fights that excite me the most. He's been around for a bit. He's had some really great fights, really great performances inside the octagon, and um, yeah, it's fun to share the octagon with those guys that I've seen and have been around for a bit. It's I get excited in a different way when it's somebody that's the unknown, and um that you don't have any film on them, you haven't watched them fight. It's kind of like a little scary in that one, 'cause there's you don't know what to expect, but yeah, it's any opportunity that I can, to get in there is always gonna be one that I'm excited about. So like I can't fight by myself. Like the last time I was supposed to fight Jared, he ended up having some issues of his own,
Mhm.
and fortunately, I was able to find somebody that was willing to step up on 2 days' notice, and um, you know, yeah, like we need the dance partner. So like anybody that can that can go through a camp and survive it and survive the grind and the ups and downs of it and make it to fight night. I have an appreciation for them and a respect for them. And yeah, I'm happy to be standing across the octagon from them.
He's from New York. Obviously, it's in New Jersey. How do you think the crowd's gonna react? Like, 'cause he's always a fan favorite when he fights around here, but obviously you from there. Like, what do you think the crowd reception will be like for both of you? Like,
Um, I think it's going to be good for both of us. I've noticed in my last handful of fights that I've been not to toot my own horn, but I've been getting a good pop,
mhm.
at weigh-ins and in my walkout, and it that gets me excited. Like I feed off that energy and yeah, like these are my fans, right? These are my local fans, and um, I'm looking to put on a show for them, and these could be his fans too, right? So like, hey, we're out there to fight and to entertain, and you know, one of us only gets to get our hand raised, but we're there to put on a show.
And for both you guys, like durable guys, good grapplers. Like, how do you kind of see this one playing out? Because it is pretty interesting. Your skill sets against each other.
It's one of those fights that could go anywhere. I do believe that I will have an advantage if I get him to the mat and um, you know on our feet. He's a very good boxer, very tight. I really enjoy his style. He's not super flashy. Really good boxing. So it's going to be a tough nut to crack. And um, yeah, I'm just prepared for a fight that could go anywhere, and that could either end violently quickly or go the distance and be a bloodbath.
He's a guy like obviously he's known for his grappling. You see him take a lot of guys down, but with your high level grappling, do you think this is a fight where might kind of prefer to stand up and isn't going to really want to take you down?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you know, uh, uh, there have been a couple of guys who have been successful at taking me down and kind of maybe not really being super aggressive on the ground. I don't know if I see that out of him. Um, but like in the past, I've had one of the highest, most highly respected ground games, even from my guard. I've had black belts not want to engage. So it, it's who knows? I'm a 42-year-old now too, so I don't move as quick as I did when I was 29. But yeah, I'm prepared wherever the fight goes. And yeah, if his game is to come in and try to take me down, I'm gonna try to choke him unconscious when he does.
You get the win over Jared. Like, where do you think that kind of puts you in the division, or does it really not matter? You can kind of fight whoever.
I think I could fight whoever. I'd like high profile fights. I'd like big names. There are a lot of great matchups out there for me. It's just a matter of showing up. On and not dealing with stuff and like if I'm capable because I'm healthy and not dealing with some of the uncontrollable stuff that seems to happen on occasions, then I can go out there and I can beat anybody. So um, yeah, a win puts me one step closer to my goal. To taking the gloves off in the octagon. It puts me, a step up in the pay scale. It does a lot of things, and yeah, if it gets me an opportunity to fight a bigger name, then I'm all for it.
For you, like this is the 47th UFC fight. You've told me and a bunch of other people multiple times 50 is kind of the stop. Is that
Hmm.
still the goal then? Like
Yeah.
it 50, so four this and three more. Like,
Yep.
is it kind of what do you think? Probably like a year from now, probably is kind of the range for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Probably about a year. Maybe a little bit over.
Like
As
maybe
as the
International
way
Fight Week next year would probably be a good
it
stop.
might be. Yeah. Yeah. I I didn't want to go too deep into 43, you know.
Mhm.
So that'll be in August this year. So who knows? But it's not the age. Honestly, it's the body of work I have behind me. It's the injuries that I've stacked up. It's the time um, that that is nagging on me. And it's a it's a it's an interesting puzzle to figure out training and to do it in a way where I know I'm prepared and I feel good, and remain healthy. Unfortunately. So I mean that's a challenge for 22-year-olds, honestly. And I've seen guys who had every opportunity to fight at this level miss out because of something stupid that happened. That may or may not have been out of their control. Groups banging into other groups and guys tearing Achilles or blowing their knee out or all these other things. So um, we walk this razor's edge when it comes to training, and um, yeah, like you got to do it where I am at this point with so much, so many fight camps, so many training sessions under my belt. Yeah, you got to be intelligent. You got to be smart about it, and you can't let your ego come into the room and out to the mats, because that's how silly stuff happens. And you know, you bang something up and you're protecting it for a couple weeks, and next thing you know, you're creating bad habits that end up carrying through into a fight. So, uh, I like the puzzle. I wish I wish my shoulders and neck moved like they used to, but it's like, yeah, it's still fun, it's still exciting, it's still a challenge, um, and yeah, like I'd like to get to that 50. I do also know that, like, if one of those stupid things happens to me at 42, if I blow my knee out on the mats or just doing something silly, right, hopping out of the truck or
Mhm.
whatever, I think the road back is too long at this point.
Mhm.
So, I don't want that to happen. Um, Obviously, but yeah, like I'm mature enough and smart enough to know that it definitely could and it easily could, because like I said, I've seen it happen to other guys at younger ages. So um, yeah, it's a, it's a goofy game.
Just final thing for you, like, obviously, you don't really know. Obviously, knock on wood, you stay healthy. Like, is there any locations or people you want to fight in those kind of final three fights after this one?
um, you know, uh, Locations, not necessarily. Um, the fighting outside the United States is fun, and it's also a little bit annoying.
Hmm.
So it probably here in the States. um and name wise, honestly, like uh I was actually asking to go up to 170s for this fight. So, like, I still feel like there's a couple guys floating around, in that division that would make a great fight. And I know that carrying a little extra weight and not going through the weight cut would do very
Hmm.
well for me on fight night. Um, I've been manipulating my body weight for competition for over 30 years now. So that is probably the most fatiguing thing of this this whole journey that I've been on. So yeah, like it'd be about fighting like the small guy and fighting with the appropriate style. But yeah, I think there's some great matches at 70s that would be really fun. And like I said, I'd show up. Uh, I'd show up spry, and you wouldn't have to have dealt with that weight cut. So who knows? There's 600 fighters on contract, so uh, just pick one.
Well, Jim, I appreciate the time as always, especially on fight week. Thanks for doing this again.
No problem. My pleasure.